Hello, John Najarian here. If you want to trade like a rebel, if you want to party like a rebel, well, you got to come to Rebelcon 2022. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas, at the fabulous Four Seasons Resort. We start the 21st of September, go until September 24th. It will be more fun and more live trading than we've ever done before. That's why it's called Rebelcon 2022. We're going to have barbecues and double the amount of live trading. So if you want to book that now, make sure you do, because the guest speakers, as soon as we announce those, this thing's going to be sold out. It's going to be something you do not want to miss. Limited to 250 people. Sign up now for Rebelcon 2022 at the Four Seasons in Dallas, Texas.
Welcome to the Rebellion.
Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take. It's Friday. Yes, we got through the week. We are not quite done yet, but it's been a wild ride. As a matter of fact, yesterday, the wild ride started off with the markets getting hit. They got hit early. They were down over 300 points on the Dow, down almost 100 points on the NASDAQ. And then once again, we just kind of reversed course and started to move to the upside. And before you know it, we closed out at 160 points to the upside on the Dow. We closed out 160 points on the NASDAQ as well. So almost a 1.3% move for the NASDAQ. Significant move once again, a big week for the NASDAQ, as a matter of fact. Up frequently throughout the week, just bang, bang, bang. We just kept on moving along. And that's been really the story. And a lot of different names, and we talk about them each and every day when we talk about some of the big movers and what's influencing things. A lot of those same names just keep on popping up. And they're certainly in different industries at times or sectors, but a really powerful move. So take a look at what's gone on this past week with the NASDAQ. We also have to take a look at what's happened with the price of crude, where we started off and we were well over 100. Yesterday, another 3% pullback to the downside. That certainly had an influence on things. Nat gas with a little bit of a pullback. Still, nat gas kind of hovering around that 8 level. Take a look when you get a chance to look at the prices of nat gas and the rapid velocity of the move to the upside from when it sold off. It had that scorching move to the upside, did get sold off, and we've been having a nice move almost on a daily basis to the upside. Nat gas now hanging around that 8 level. Volatility right around 23. We got under that 25 level and we've kind of been holding right about there. Closer to 24. Now we slipped to 23. As a matter of fact, today we started off the day in the 22s. I wouldn't be shocked if we actually closed somewhere in the 22s if the markets stay like they're trading right now. Volumes, a little bit over 37 million contracts in the options world. Not bad, not great, but not so bad. We've had much worse recently, but we've also had a couple of days where we were back over that 40 million mark. We weren't there yesterday. 2-year, 10-year, just keep hanging right around 3. So not worth really covering much there. Consumer discretion was the leader yesterday. No doubt about it. Tesla, Amazon, definitely with a big push. Up over 2.25% yesterday for consumer discretion. Really, really powerful day. Healthcare chipped in as well. You got names like Merck and United Health and J&J all contributing there. You had technology up 1.5%. Apple, Netflix had another great day. Apple's had a pretty impressive week. Apple was in the mid 140s. Now it's up there in the 140 or 155 range. Really a pretty powerful week there as well. We talk about NASDAQ, a lot of these NASDAQ type names. Materials up about 1.5%. Nucor being the standout for me there. Take a look at Cliffs. Take a look at other names. Cliffs, by the way, today a little bit different, but a big powerful move yesterday along with U.S. Steel. Nucor was up 9% yesterday. That's a monstrous move, especially considering the sector in which we're talking. Financials, pretty decent day. At least they were in positive territory. That was great. What wasn't was energy. Energy did get hit pretty hard yesterday with oil going down about 3%. And you take a look at the biggies really leading to the downside yesterday. We haven't talked much about some of those beta names in a little bit of while, so we'll have to see. We start to see a little bit of movement there, but we have not seen a whole lot of late. Some of the big movers, I mentioned Tesla, certainly one of those. Boeing, I would throw in a little bit of Goldman Sachs, Salesforce, Biogen, Netflix, all pretty powerful. But those cruise ships struggled again yesterday. Those airlines were struggling. I mentioned some of those beta names in energy. They were struggling a little bit. I'd throw out their name like APA. I'd even throw in Valero to show you a little bit of what was pulling on markets yesterday. T-Mobile, another one of those. Chuck in Verizon as well. Dow, IBM just cannot find its footing ever since earnings, that's for sure. But then we roll into today, and we've had a pretty good week in the markets overall, especially with the NASDAQ, as I mentioned. And we get a huge number out of what we'd seen in American Express. Now, that one was amazing. They talked about the high levels of spend, and they just absolutely crushed it. So that was something just to kick off the day for sure. We started off the day, we were about, a little bit split. The Dow was up about 50, 60 points. NASDAQ down about 30 or 40 points. We've kind of been in that range. The NASDAQ's been down further. It's been down close to 100 points. It's also come all the way back up almost into the green. We've also watched the Dow itself kind of pull back a little bit. We were up over 150 points right out of the gate. We fell back. We pushed right back up. We fell back once again. And last I looked, we were up somewhere between 30 and 50 points to the upside. We all know this first hour is always interesting. A lot of people refer to it as amateur hour. You can see why. Some of the crazy moves. But then you start to get into the day and the rhythm starts to get there. And then it's a much more news-driven sort of run. Unless it's something that's working for you, you got to take advantage of it. We talk about DDA all the time. Discipline dictates action. Something I came up with many years ago, and it really is. You've always got to have discipline. It's always going to lead you on to what you've got to do. It's going to dictate the next action you've got to take, and that's what keeps you around for a long period of time. Crude, it was getting hit a little bit further, and then it bounced right back. So it's right around where it was, 96 and a half, somewhere in that range. Nat gas, however, I mentioned that name. It's up it's up about 4% today, back up near 8.25 now. So that's a name. I keep on bringing it up. I don't hear it talked about, not nearly enough. Nat gas is on fire, and it has been. Just take a look at a couple week chart or something like that on there. You'll see what I'm talking about. The VXN, we talk about the volatility of the NASDAQ a lot. It finally slipped underneath 30. It's in the 29s. I take a look over at the VIX itself. We were in the 22s. We did slide up a little bit. We are in the 23s now. It will be somewhere in that range if the markets stay like what they're looking like right now. A little bit of a quiet start volume-wise from what I'm seeing. Both the 2-year and the 10-year now are just below that 3 level. So the 2-year obviously had been much higher. It's been kind of easing back and actually got to 298. So nothing huge. It's not way below 3, but something certainly we are all watching as we go through things. Snap was the earnings that seemed to just trigger everybody today. I know we also had Twitter. Snap is what everybody was looking at. Snap also is getting absolutely creamed, down 33, 35%, whatever it is. I mean, absolutely throttled. Cutbacks in digital ad spend. That's affecting a lot more than just Snap. You look at Google, take a look at Pinterest, take a look at a lot of these names, social media space, including Facebook, Meta, Twitter, all of them getting hit to the downside, but not getting hit to the downside. American Express having a very nice day, had a really powerful numbers, record spend. It really, I think, has a lot of people confused, a lot of people surprised. I don't know if you guys do boots on the ground like I do, and you go out places, you do see spending. When you travel, you do see people in airplanes once again. They don't have to wear masks, so people are pretty excited to travel, and they have entertainment. And that is exactly what American Express was talking about, a lot of the spend that they are seeing, travel and entertainment. So a lot of it does make a lot of sense, a lot of common sense, quite frankly. Energy. It started off okay. It kind of slipped. It's been kind of in there. It's in positive territory. So up about 0.5% last I looked. Materials up about 0.5% last I looked. Financials actually were right around flat last I looked. Communications absolutely getting hammered, as we talked about. You talk about all those names that I just brought up when we're talking about Snap and Google and everything else. Well, down about 2.25%. Slid even a little bit further right before coming on. It was down 2.6%. Technology also down about 0.5%. So you can understand when you've got names like Meta and Snap and Twitter and all these names, that is going to pull on things. So what's actually doing very, very well post earnings outside of American Express are some of these hospital stocks, particularly like HCA. Now that one having a really solid day, had a really solid performance as well. mentioned American Express. You've got names like Marriott. We talk about travel. We talk about travel. You're not just talking about airplanes. You're oftentimes talking about hotels and those types of things as well. So you're understandable. Walgreens, Etsy, Lennar actually in positive territory as well. But what's getting hit today? Tell you what, I took a look over at some of these semiconductors, whether it be Micron or Marvell or AMD, all a little bit in the red and some a little bit more than just a little. Seagate, maybe the influence there, that was getting hit pretty hard today. Meta, Google, we already mentioned that. Intuitive Surgical getting absolutely clocked today as well. Lucid, Verizon, again. So you get the idea of what's really kind of influencing things. Got a couple of unusuals for you. Then we're out of here. A lot of people keep asking me about a lot of questions that, what about unusual? What about this? What about that? This is your place for unusual option activity. And John at the 3 and 3, another one at the very end of the day, 3 Eastern. That's part of what the 3 he's talking about there, 3 at 3. AUY, Yamana Gold. Here's the interesting thing. We have started to see over the last couple of sessions, and it really just started this week, buyers of gold, buyers of gold, buyers of gold. And I'm talking about so many different parts of that, whether it be ETFs, but also individual names, seeing a lot of that. So Yamana Gold being one of those, just underneath $5, trading 480, had a buyer of 7,000 of the September 5 calls. Gives you a little bit of time. It's pretty much right at the money, call it, because the stock just underneath that by 20 cents. And these options are about 33 cents. We get a significant move in gold. We get a nice pop up for something like that. Those options certainly could have a pretty nice reaction as well. SPLK is the next one. Now, I bring this one up because you don't see this very often on unusual. We aren't seeing huge size in this name either, but I think it's fairly fair to point out some of the names that absolutely have been crushed. And we've heard so many people who they absolutely do the exact opposite. They love them when they're up here at 200 or 300. They hate them when they get under 100. It's just the most interesting thing in the world to watch. So I look at the 52-week high and low here. 52-week low, close to 85. The high, 177. That's your 52-week. That's your 1 year. Stock is trading 108, a lot closer to the lows, right? So we have a buyer of 2,500 of these August 135 calls going for about 60 cents. It gives them a little bit of time. It's about a month out, call it, maybe even a little bit more than a month out. So certainly interesting. You've got a little bit of time on your hands. That's a pretty daggone significant move to the upside. But obviously, a lot of people have been watching what's been happening with a lot of those names that had those either very high PEs or they were no PE or whatever. That have started to make some gains. So it's not just Apple and Amazon and Tesla and some of those names, but it's also a lot of those names that, that we view as kind of whether they're pandemic names or they're just high multiple names or zero multiple names, those names finally catching a little bit of a bid. And the easiest way to look at that is take a look at some of Kathy Wood's ETFs. There are a couple that have absolutely had a great performance of late. I'm not talking about over the last 3-6 months. I'm talking about of late, a pretty significant move to the upside. So seeing a little bit of buying, obviously, in some of those more high volatile type names that we've talked about many, many times. Folks, have a great weekend. Have a great time. Please enjoy yourselves. Stay cool. But also, if you want to get involved in the derivatives markets, educate yourself or you will get frustrated. I'm Pete Najarian. Have a great weekend.